welcome Nimrod Novik, the author of that letter, which was signed by some 600 Israeli officials. He's a former foreign policy advisor to the late Shimon Peres and a fellow with the Israel Policy Forum. He recently wrote an article in Time magazine about the major uptick of violence in the occupied West Bank. And he joins us now live. Great to have you with us. Appreciate your time. I want to start first with that letter. The Prime Minister Netanyahu, of course, is calling for a full takeover of Gaza, even in areas where hostages are being held. You wrote a letter signed by hundreds of security officials on all sides of politics, including former IDF generals, heads of Mossad, diplomatic leaders, essentially saying the war is dragging on for political reasons. Explain Netanyahu's objective and the reason for your letter.
The reason for the letter is that we believe that the Trump administration, on several occasions, managed to steer policy here in directions that we believe are in line with Israeli national security. Even before taking office, President Trump managed to get the prime minister to accept a ceasefire hostage deal in January, which he had rejected for months. Uh, the same goes for the war in Lebanon, where the Trump administration managed to forge a ceasefire. And we believe that the time has come for that administration to do the same in Gaza. Um, there are all kinds of considerations as to why the prime minister issued the threat of conquering the whole Gaza Strip, occupying it. Uh, we are hopeful very much that this is intended in order to soften Hamas' position and bring about the ultimate deal that brings the hostages home. But with this government, nobody knows.
And speak to us, Nimrod, about Netanyahu's objectives, why you believe this war is continuing to drag on.
Well, I find myself, for a change, in the majority of Israelis, overwhelming majority of Israelis who, poll after poll, are not just against the continuation of the war and calling to end it and bring the hostages home, but when asked again in the polls, what drives the prime minister? Is it the national security considerations or personal political ones? And I never believed that I would live long enough to see the Israeli public uh, uh, considering a prime minister running the war primarily on the basis of his political and personal considerations. Most Israelis believe that the prime minister refused to risk his coalition. And given the fact that his coalition, that he chose to associate himself with the most extreme elements in Israeli society, from the margins of society, and they now hold the majority and can bring him down, that consideration of the durability of his tenure trumps national security considerations. This is an awful thought. I never thought that I will reach it, and I never thought I would utter it aloud. But when I thought so myself, it was one thing. When the overwhelming majority of the public thinks so, this is even more alarming.
And Nimrod, you wrote a op-ed in Time magazine about the rising violence in the West Bank and the fact that the world's fixated on Gaza right now. What are we missing in the West Bank, and what are the long-term consequences?
Yeah, when all eyes are on Gaza and previously were on Lebanon and Syria and Iran, under that cover, the same extremists in our government who are Jewish supremacists and messianic annexationists and are determined to take over the entire West Bank, including its 3 million Palestinians. and either make their lives so miserable so that they choose to leave, or otherwise they'll force them to. And these are public positions, written and reiterated in public by those individuals, with their support, under their encouragement. Jewish extremists on the West Bank have been making Palestinian lives miserable. Jewish terrorism has spiked to unprecedented degrees. Some of their acts reminds us of what our forefathers experienced when before the state existed in Eastern Europe and elsewhere. Um, it's not Jewish, it's not moral, it's certainly not the Zionist vision and the values enshrined in our Declaration of Independence. Um, their violence, um, as well as the 22 months war in Gaza and the images from there, have driven Palestinian youth to radicalize and take to arms and join terrorist groups or form their own. And we are now at the point where radicalized young Palestinians and Jewish extremist terrorists are feeding on each other, using each other as an excuse to commit violence, killing innocents, destroying property, and risking a major conflagration in the process.
So much more to discuss, but we've run out of time. I will hope to have you back again soon. Nimrod Novik, thanks so much. We appreciate